And welcome back to the Michael Cohen Show on our continued journey to 500,000 subscribers. Yesterday, another great day. So hit subscribe, watch, comment, and share. Share with everyone because this stupidity, it's got to come to an end. Now, let me talk to you for a second about Trump's handpicked prosecutors. They just keep proving that they're out of their depth. And now it's coming back to bite them in the ass. Let me tell you this. A federal judge literally just rebuked Lindsay Halligan. You know who she is, right? The Trump loyalist acting as prosecutor in the James Comey and the Tish James cases for failing to submit the full grand jury transcripts. I mean, this is like the easiest thing in the world to turn over. I mean, the missing portions include what Halligan herself told the grand jury before and after and during the indictment presentation. My friends, let me be clear. This is a rookie mistake. It's a rookie mistake that raises serious questions about competence, about bias, and about whether the case was tainted from the start. On Political Beatdown, my co-host Ben and I, we break down what this order really means, all right? Why it's another stain on the DOJ under Trump, and why appointing unqualified loyalists like Halligan puts the entire justice system at risk, knowing full well that the DOJ is already undergoing all sorts of problems and that they have been for years. This is just a screwed up DOJ on steroids. Play the clip.
I just want to read for you what the judge's order was with respect to Lindsay Halligan, because I don't want there to be any misstatements or whatever. I mean, let's just go to what the judge's actual order was with Halligan. That's a different one there, Remy. That one right there is the one that the government says it's not going to be providing documents with respect to New York Attorney General Letitia James. But let me pull up this Judge Curry one right here and find it for us. What did Judge Curry say? Judge Curry ordered the DOJ to submit a more complete transcript of the Comey grand jury proceedings, noting that the transcripts she was provided of the lone witness does not include any of the remarks from Lindsay Halligan. Just want you to think about that. Doesn't include the remarks from Lindsay Halligan or the presentation. So here's what the order says. Defendant James P. Comey has filed a motion to dismiss alleging the indictment resulted from a violation of the Appointments Clause, which authorizes the appointment of an interim United States attorney. On October 28, 2025, the undersigned, meaning the judge, Judge Curry, entered an order directing the government to submit for in-camera review, that just means for the judge to review only, all documents relating to the indictment signer's participation in the grand jury proceedings, along with the complete grand jury transcripts. The indictment signer is Lindsay Halligan. On Friday, October 31st, 2025, the court received a package containing inter alia just means among other things, a transcript of grand jury proceedings on September 25th, 2025. This court has reviewed the transcript and finds that it fails to include remarks made by the indictment signer, both before and after the testimony of the sole witness, which remarks were referenced by the indictment signer during the witness's testimony. In addition, the package contains no records or transcripts regarding the presentation of the 3-count indictment referenced in the transcript of the return of grand jury indictment proceedings before the magistrate judge. Accordingly, the government is directed to submit no later than Wednesday, November 5th, 2025 at 5 p.m. for in-camera review, a complete transcript and or recording of all statements made by the indictment signer to the grand jury on September 25th, 2025, to include statements made prior to and after the testimony of the witness and during the presentation of the 3-count and subsequent 2-count indictments. So in other words, what Lindsay Halligan did was just submit the testimony of a witness. There was probably some FBI witness who wasn't even involved in the Comey investigation. In these grand juries, you can have an FBI agent testify to hearsay. And so you have someone basically show up. What was this guy told or gal told who testified before the grand jury? So all that was given was what this witness said, this FBI agent. But what was not provided is, what did Lindsay Halligan tell the grand jury that their responsibility was? Because the prosecutor is supposed to instruct them what the process is about, what their role is. What did she say after that witness testified? And then when she was speaking to the grand jury about the underlying indictment,
Right.
what was she saying to them that these counts are when she instructs them on the law? That was never submitted. And how do you not submit it? It's the easiest request from the judge, right, Cohen? Just turn over the grand jury. You turn over the full thing.
Right. And it's not that they're turning it over to the press or to a FOIA. They're turning it over to the judge.
The judge.
Which is why they're saying in camera, meaning for the judge's eyes only.
And I want people to know this too. It may sound odd. You'd be like, well, doesn't the judge know about this already? No, because grand jury proceedings take place outside of the presence of the judge and outside of the presence of the person and their lawyers who you're seeking the indictment against.
Right.
So the defendant or the potential defendant isn't there. So what this system relies on is a prosecutor exercising their ethics and good faith and giving accurate information to the grand jury. And the alarm here is none of the prosecutors in the Eastern District of Virginia who saw this case said that there's a case. One of the things that we also know is that the witnesses who are supposed to support the prosecution's version of events, one of them, McCabe, has been on the Midas Touch Network before, and he goes, I did it on my own. I leaked it. I had authority, not from Comey. I leaked it on my own. The other guy is a lawyer to Comey, was one of like Comey's lawyers, Richmond or whatever the guy's name is. And he's friends with Comey, and he hadn't said that Comey gave him the info. So whatever we think about Comey, the two potential witnesses are Comey's buddies. So what would and we know what they said in the Inspector General's report. Anyway, Cohen, this is showing you, though, when you put in someone like Halligan, I'm like, could you imagine, Cohen, even like you, when you were Trump's personal attorney, would you be like, I know enough? Wouldn't you be like, wait a minute, I shouldn't be the federal prosecutor in the Eastern District of Virginia if I don't have prosecutorial experience?
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of people who have taken on positions in this administration that have no business being there. I mean, I know many of them personally, and not even via Trump. I know them personally outside of the Trump world. Many of them have absolutely zero experience in the area that they are now in charge of. And you know what? I know it's great to have that title, and now you're going to have that title for the rest of your life, but you're not doing right by the country. You're not doing right by the citizens. You can't be the secretary of whatever, like a Pete Hegseth, the Department of War, when you have no capability. You're placing America in harm's way.
Cohen, two fingers salute. Who are you going to give it to?
You know, Ben, it's a really tough one today because so many people deserve it that once again, I'd like to confer with you, Ben, on, you know, maybe let's give like three potentials.
We'll go two. Obviously, Trump should get it every episode,
right,
so
we can't do that.
So let me give you four options, and one that we haven't discussed. One, Sean Duffy, Transportation Secretary, who says 100%. That he may be shutting down the airports next week. Didn't talk about him, but wild card. Caroline Levitt, who we give it to a lot. She lies in the press conference. She talks about the MRI, but doesn't answer the question. Kind of too easy. MAGA Mike, we give it to all of the time. Lindsay Halligan right there at the end. So those are the four that I would put in contention.
Yeah, then we're going to have to give it to Lindsay Halligan. I'm with you, by the way. You know, I understand wanting, as Alina Habba wanted to be, you know, the Attorney General for New Jersey. I get it. You know, you probably should have some legitimate prosecutorial experience. That's not a world that I was ever involved with. If I was offered it, I would say, Mr. President, thank you for that honor. There's actually other places that I would be better useful to you on. This is not one of them. Yeah, I get it. She's a lawyer. Many people are lawyers, but that doesn't mean that you understand the federal process. I don't know if you are actually admitted, Ben, into the federal courts. I actually never went for it. I didn't need it, right? And so, so for me to then accept a role which is outside of the scope of my knowledge, of my abilities, I think you're making not just a fool of yourself, but you're making a fool of the president who you are allegedly trying to protect. And so to Lindsey, for just accepting the role and for not turning around and standing up and just saying, hey, you know what, maybe this isn't for me. Maybe I'm going to be hurting the Eastern District of Virginia. Maybe I'm going to be hurting the process. Maybe I'm going to be hurting the way people look at America and trust the people there in DC to do the right thing. Maybe your actions have now caused everybody to think even less of DC than we already have. And for that, you got to get the two-finger salute.
Right. And here's the deal, because if Comey engaged in misconduct, it's not like I'm a Comey cheerleader. I'm not like Comey's the greatest guy ever just because and what. No, I mean, like the reality is that if there misconduct, criminal conduct that can be proven, show you do it the right way. To me, it's not about liking or don't liking a guy or New York Attorney General Letitia James, someone who I'm very supportive of. I like her, unlike Comey, who I think that he did a lot of screwed up things, when it came to the 2016. But I don't want to go down that rabbit hole. But I view these people differently. But it is what it is. I think whatever. I would like just because I like New York Attorney General just doesn't change my analysis of Comey versus James. At the end of the day, if crimes were committed, then and these are prosecuted crimes, go for it. But they're not. And there's a reason why prosecutor after prosecutor, in my view, rejected these. Now, the full force of the government has the ability to prosecute and get people convicted on a lot of things. We've seen that. But the issue is, though, there, even for their own self-interest, to put a middle school basketball player who struggles to make JV on an NBA court against LeBron James just makes the whole institution look stupid. And that's what Lindsey Halligan in a federal court against James Comey's lawyers looks like. So regardless of where you stand on the political aisle about this person or that person, it makes the justice system look absolutely stupid. And it erodes all of the trust. And I'm curious to see what the hell, I said this from day one. I said, what did Halligan tell that grand jury? I want to hear her words. Was the first thing I said.
Unfortunately, you never get to see grand jury notes. That's the whole problem.
You never do until
it is a secret proceeding.
Until that witness testifies at the federal trial, and then you're able to cross-examine that witness with the grand jury material once they are sworn to testify in the jury box in an actual trial. Then we would get to see it. But until then, we wouldn't. That's why the judge requested it in camera.
Hey, everyone. First of all, thanks for watching. We're going to be posting daily episodes with reactions and talking about politics. We'll be talking about everything, in fact. So please like and subscribe. Join us on this journey.